All right, so let's unpack this whole H-1B visa situation.
Yeah,
You've sent over some really interesting material, especially that analysis,
right.
breaking down Elon Musk's stance and how it connects to Trump's policies.
Yeah.
There's a lot to cover here, so let's dive right in.
Yeah, it's fascinating how this story goes beyond just visas,
Yeah,
touching on the relationship between workers, corporations, and the government.
absolutely.
We'll explore how these technical details
Yeah,
have big implications for everyone involved. To get started,
okay.
let's quickly define H-1B visas. These are essentially permits
Okay,
that allow U.S. companies to hire foreign workers with specialized skills,
got it.
primarily in fields like tech,
Mm-hmm.
engineering, and medicine.
So these aren't just handed out to anyone. There are specific requirements.
Exactly. The worker needs to meet certain qualifications
Okay,
and must be sponsored by a company.
makes sense.
The visa typically lasts for 3 years,
Okay,
with the possibility of extending it to 6. After that, they would need to reapply.
and I imagine there are limitations too, right?
Yes, a significant one being that the visa holder is tied to their sponsoring company.
Mm-hmm.
If they lose their job,
Right.
they risk losing their right to stay in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
This creates a unique power dynamic between employer and employee.
Yeah, definitely. Now let's get into the Tesla situation. What happened there?
Sure.
And how does it connect to H-1B visas?
So Tesla laid off a significant number of U.S. workers from their Texas factory,
Okay.
around 2,800 to be precise.
Wow.
And reports indicate that they're being replaced with foreign workers on
Oh,
H-1B visas.
really?
This has sparked a lot of debate.
It's a bold move considering Elon Musk's very public stance on H-1B visas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's been a vocal advocate for
Yeah.
increasing the H-1B visa cap.
Right.
He even made that rather memorable tweet.
Ah, yes, the go to war tweet.
Right.
Let's refresh everyone's memory on that. What exactly did he say?
Okay, so he tweeted, "We will take a big step back and expletive yourself in the face.
Oh my goodness.
I will go to war on this issue."
Yeah.
It was certainly a strong statement,
Yeah.
and it caused a lot of controversy.
I can see why Musk wants to increase the number of available visas,
Yeah.
especially with his company's hiring practices.
Right.
But what are the arguments for and against raising that cap?
Well, companies like Tesla argue that they need access to a global pool of talent to remain competitive
Mm-hmm.
and drive innovation.
Okay.
They often claim that they struggle to find qualified American workers for certain specialized roles.
Right.
However, critics argue that expanding the program could lead to lower wages
Oh,
for both American and foreign workers,
I see.
as companies might prioritize cheaper labor.
That makes sense.
This raises concerns about potential exploitation and displacement of American workers.
So it's a classic economic dilemma,
Now,
balancing the needs of businesses,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
with the protection of workers' rights.
precisely. And it's not just about economics.
Right.
There are also concerns about national security and the potential for H-1B visas
Uh-huh.
to be used in ways that could harm American interests.
Now, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
You mentioned Trump earlier.
Yeah,
He's had a rather complex relationship with H-1B visas, hasn't he?
he has.
Yeah.
In 2016, he was vehemently opposed to the program,
Really?
calling it very, very bad for workers.
Wow.
But then, a few years later,
Yeah.
his stance seemed to shift.
No, he changed his mind.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
His administration implemented some changes to the program,
Okay.
claiming to prioritize American workers.
Okay.
But he also expressed support for using H-1B visas
Mm-hmm.
to attract top, highly paid talent.
Interesting.
This apparent change of heart has led to accusations of flip-flopping
Mm.
and prioritizing corporate interests over American workers.
His evolving stance definitely adds another layer of complexity to this whole issue.
For sure.
It highlights the political tightrope walk
Right.
involved in trying to balance competing interests. Let's unpack this further, shall we?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it really shows how political viewpoints can, evolve over time,
Mhm.
especially when powerful figures like Elon Musk are involved.
Yeah.
It raises questions about who benefits from these policy shifts and whether the needs of American workers are
Right.
truly being prioritized.
That brings us to an interesting point raised by the analysis you shared.
Yeah.
It argues that this whole situation goes beyond just visas
Mm-hmm.
and reflects a broader trend of prioritizing corporate interests
Yeah.
over workers' well-being.
Yes. The analysis suggests that this case is like a microcosm of a larger systemic issue.
Right.
It points to a growing concern about the influence of corporations and wealthy individuals
Mm-hmm.
on government policy,
Okay.
particularly in areas like immigration and labor.
And it specifically connects this to the concept of corporate feudalism, right?
Yes.
What exactly does that entail?
So the term corporate feudalism is used to describe a scenario
Okay.
where corporations wield significant power and influence,
Hmm.
potentially even surpassing that of traditional government structures.
Right.
In this hypothetical system,
Yeah.
companies would have a disproportionate amount of control
Okay.
over various aspects of society,
I see.
from labor markets to social policies.
That sounds pretty dystopian.
It does.
Like something out of a science fiction novel?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's an idea that's gaining traction
Well,
in certain circles,
Okay.
particularly among those who are critical of what they see as unchecked corporate power
Right.
and the erosion of democratic processes.
The analysis even cites Curtis Yarvin, a controversial figure who advocates for this type of system.
Yarvin, often associated with the
Okay.
neo-reactionary movement,
Mm-hmm.
argues that democracy is inherently flawed
Okay.
and proposes a system where power is concentrated in the hands of a select few,
Oh, wow.
including tech CEOs and corporate leaders.
So like a small group of people.
Exactly. He envisions a future where corporations essentially govern different regions or sectors of society.
That's a pretty radical idea.
It is, to say the least.
Yeah.
But regardless of whether one agrees with Yarvin's vision,
Right.
it does raise some important questions
Yeah.
about the direction we're headed in and the balance of power between corporations,
Mm-hmm.
governments, and individuals.
The analysis also delves into the potential consequences of this trend, suggesting that it could lead to greater income inequality,
Yeah.
a decline in workers' rights, and a further concentration of wealth and power in the hands of a select few.
It paints a rather bleak picture,
Yeah.
arguing that the current trajectory could result in a society where corporations
Okay.
have undue influence over policy decisions,
Mhm.
shaping the rules to benefit their bottom line at the expense of the well-being
Right.
of workers and communities.
This all ties back to the H-1B visa issue,
Yes.
as the analysis argues that the push to expand the program is part of a larger effort to create a more flexible and globalized workforce,
Exactly.
potentially at the cost of American jobs and wages.
The analysis contends that this pursuit of a global talent pool,
Okay.
while framed as a way to boost innovation and competitiveness, could ultimately erode labor standards and create a race to the bottom,
Oh, wow.
where workers are pitted against each other
I see.
in a global competition for jobs.
It's a complex and nuanced issue
Definitely.
with valid arguments on both sides.
For sure.
But it's crucial to consider the potential long-term consequences of these policies
Absolutely.
and how they might impact the lives of everyday people.
Absolutely. And it's essential to have open and honest conversations about these issues,
Right.
examining the evidence and weighing the potential costs and benefits before making decisions that could have far-reaching implications.
The analysis we're discussing definitely takes a critical stance,
Yeah.
but it also encourages readers to think critically about these issues and to engage in informed discussions about the kind of future we want to create.
It's a call for awareness,
Right.
for questioning assumptions,
Yeah.
and for demanding more from our leaders and institutions.
Now let's circle back to Elon Musk
Okay.
and his role in this whole debate.
Right?
The analysis seems to paint him as a key figure in this push towards corporate feudalism.
It portrays him as a powerful and influential figure
Okay.
who is using his wealth and platform to advocate for policies
Right.
that align with his business interests,
Makes sense.
particularly in areas like immigration and labor.
The analysis also points out the irony of Musk's stance on H-1B visas, considering that he himself is an immigrant who benefited from the U.S. immigration system.
It suggests that while Musk champions the idea of attracting global talent,
Right.
he also seems to be advocating for policies that could potentially displace American workers
Okay.
and erode labor standards.
The analysis doesn't shy away from using strong language to describe Musk, calling him a welfare queen, immigrant, robber baron,
Yeah.
and accusing him of prioritizing his own profits over the well-being of American workers.
It's a provocative framing, to be sure,
Yeah.
and one that is likely to elicit strong reactions
Right.
from both supporters and critics of Musk.
This brings us to another interesting point, raised by the analysis.
Okay.
It specifically addresses supporters of Donald Trump
Uh-huh.
and the Make America Great Again movement,
Right.
challenging them to reconcile their belief in Trump as a champion of the working class
Yeah.
with his support for policies that could potentially benefit corporations at the expense of American workers.
It's a bold strategy,
It is.
directly targeting a specific audience
Right.
and attempting to expose what they see as hypocrisy
Okay.
in their political beliefs.
The analysis points out Trump's flip-flopping on the H-1B visa issue,
Right.
highlighting his initial condemnation of the program as bad for workers,
Exactly.
and contrasting it with his later support for attracting top highly paid talent.
It argues that this shift in stance reveals a willingness to prioritize corporate interests over the needs of American workers,
Right.
despite his populist rhetoric.
The analysis goes even further, criticizing other politicians like J.D. Vance, who they accuse of abandoning their populist promises
Right.
and aligning themselves with the interests of wealthy donors and corporations.
It points to specific examples,
Okay.
such as Vance's alleged dodging of questions about raising the minimum wage,
Wow.
and his absence from votes on policies like extending the child tax credit.
It's a scathing critique of the political establishment,
Yeah.
suggesting that both Democrats and Republicans are complicit in a system that prioritizes the interests of the wealthy and powerful
Right.
over the needs of ordinary people.
The analysis argues that this trend transcends partisan politics,
Right.
pointing to a broader systemic issue where corporate influence and money in politics have eroded democratic processes and created a system
Okay.
that is rigged against the average person.
It's a powerful and provocative argument,
It is.
one that challenges us to think critically about the state of our democracy
Mm-hmm.
and the role of corporations in our society.
It's a call to action,
Yeah.
urging readers to wake up to the reality of corporate influence,
Right.
to get money out of politics, and to fight for a system that benefits everyone, not just the wealthy elite.
So what can we do? How can we navigate this complex landscape and create a future that is more equitable and just?
That's the million-dollar question,
It is.
and one that requires a multifaceted approach.
The analysis suggests that we need to start by raising awareness about these issues,
Yeah.
educating ourselves and others about the ways in which corporate influence shapes our political and economic systems.
It also emphasizes the importance of civic engagement,
Right.
encouraging people to get involved in the political process,
Exactly.
whether through voting, activism, or supporting organizations that are working to address these issues.
The analysis also highlights the need for campaign finance reform,
Yes,
arguing that we need to reduce the influence of money in politics
absolutely.
to create a more level playing field
Right.
and ensure that policy decisions are driven by the needs of the people, not the interests of wealthy donors and corporations.
It also calls for greater transparency and accountability
Okay.
from our elected officials, demanding that they represent the interests of their constituents,
Right.
not the corporations that fund their campaigns.
Ultimately, the analysis argues that creating a more equitable and just society requires a collective effort,
It does.
with individuals, communities, and institutions working together to challenge the status quo and demand a system
Right.
that prioritizes the well-being of all, not just the privileged few.
It's a call for hope, for action, and for a belief in the power of collective action to create a better future.
So where does this leave us?
Yeah.
What are some key takeaways from this deep dive into H-1B visas, Elon Musk, and the potential for corporate feudalism?
We've explored the complexities of the H-1B visa program,
Right.
examining the arguments for and against expanding it, and considering its potential impacts on American workers.
We've also delved into the broader issue of corporate influence,
Right.
exploring the concept of corporate feudalism,
Yeah.
and considering the potential consequences of unchecked corporate power.
We've examined the role of powerful individuals like Elon Musk
Right.
in shaping policy decisions,
Right.
and considered the ethical implications of prioritizing corporate interests over the well-being
Yeah.
of workers and communities.
And we've been challenged to think critically about the state of our democracy
Absolutely.
and the ways in which we can create a more equitable and just society.
The analysis we've discussed has provided a thought-provoking perspective
Yeah.
on these complex issues, raising important questions,
Right.
and prompting us to consider the kind of future we want to create.
It's a reminder that we have a voice and a responsibility to engage in these conversations,
Absolutely.
to hold our leaders accountable,
Mm-hmm.
and to work towards a future where the needs of all are prioritized,
Yes.
not just the interests of the powerful few.
It's a call for awareness, for action, and for a belief in the power of collective effort to shape a better world.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that these issues aren't just theoretical.
Right.
They have real-world consequences for people's lives and livelihoods.
Absolutely.
It underscores the need for vigilance,
Yeah.
for critical thinking, and for a willingness to challenge the status quo, even when it comes from influential figures like Elon Musk.
It's true. The analysis we've been discussing has certainly given us a lot to consider.
It has.
It's like peeling back the layers of a complex onion,
Right.
revealing the interconnectedness of economic, technology, and politics.
Absolutely. It highlights the importance of informed debate and the need to engage with diverse perspectives,
Yeah.
even those that we might find challenging or uncomfortable.
It's important to be open to different viewpoints for sure.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear your final thoughts. What key questions
Yeah.
should our listeners ponder as they navigate this evolving landscape?
Well, I think a crucial question to consider is what role individuals can play
Okay.
in influencing these massive systems that shape our lives.
It can feel daunting, almost like David versus Goliath, when you think about the
Yeah.
power of corporations and the influence of figures like Elon Musk.
It's true,
Mhm.
but it's important to remember that collective action, even on a small scale, can make a difference.
So you're saying that individual actions can have an impact.
Absolutely. The analysis we discussed encourages people to get involved, whether through voting, supporting organizations that align with their values, or simply engaging in informed conversations with friends and family.
Every action, no matter how small, can contribute to a ripple effect.
Exactly.
Raising awareness and shifting the conversation towards a more equitable and just future.
Yeah, it's the goal.
This deep dive has certainly given us a lot to chew on.
It has.
It's a reminder that
Yeah.
we can't just passively accept the status quo,
Right.
We have a responsibility to engage, to question, and to demand better from our leaders and institutions.
And it's a call to action,
It is.
urging us to embrace critical thinking,
Yeah.
to seek out diverse perspectives,
Okay.
and to actively participate in shaping the world we want to live in.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive
Of course.
into the complex world of H-1B visas, Elon Musk,
Yeah.
and the potential for corporate feudalism.
We hope this exploration has equipped you with the knowledge and insights
That's what's
to navigate these evolving issues and to contribute to a more informed and engaged public discourse.
We'll leave you with this final thought.
The future is not predetermined.
Okay.
It's something we create together. Through our choices, our actions, and our unwavering commitment to building a world that benefits all.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning,
Yes.
and keep pushing for a better tomorrow.